Alright, hey guys, we're going to be doing 9.1. It's all about circles and circumference. So we're going to follow the laser. There's a lot going on this first slide. You have the ability to pause the video at any time and kind of look at it, but I'm going to go through this quickly. So here's some of your vocabulary. Hopefully you're following the laser. So the circle, and we're going to define the circle because I'm not sure everybody really realizes it's the set of all points in a plane that are the same distance from the center. So that's why if you guys have ever seen the compass, it has the little pointy part that goes in the center, and then you pull the pencil part out, and however far you pull it out, that is called the radius because it is halfway, or that it is halfway across. But it is from the center to this outside part. So however far you make the radius from the center will determine how big your circle is. And then you just, with the pointy end down and the pencil attached, you spin it around and it makes a circle. Because all of the points here, all these points are the same distance from the circle, known as the radius. Okay, now all the way across the circle is the diameter, and we're going to use diameter for circumference, for figuring out circumference. So again, just remember, circumference is essentially the perimeter. It's the fancy circle word. The circles are special, so they get their own word for perimeter, but basically the perimeter around the outside is what we're talking about when we talk about the circle. All the way across is the diameter, and halfway across is the radius. So if you know the radius, it is twice as far to make the diameter. So diameter is equal to 2r, and they're going to show us that here in a little while. Or actually, they're showing us that right here. So all this is saying, and you can pause the video, I'm not going to pause here very long at all. So all they're saying is, here's a diameter, what is the radius? Well, divide it by 2. So halfway across the whole thing is the radius, right? So it's 10. Over here, they give us a radius and say, what is the diameter? Well, it's twice as far, so it's 2 times the radius. All right, if you can't figure that part out, just come see me or rewind that, or just pause it and look at this carefully. I think you'll get it. Okay, so like I said, the circumference is the distance around the circle. We call that perimeter on every other shape. And it is the ratio of the circumference to the diameter. Let's see, it says the ratio of the circumference to the diameter is the same for every circle. And its value is represented by pi. Okay, so pi, we're going to use pi. So circles use pi because of this ratio of circumference to diameter. Okay, so what we have here is, the one I always use is this one, because I can multiply by 2. So all this 2r thing is it's the same exact thing, only instead of having d, they're just putting in 2r, and then they're splitting it up. 2 pi r, okay? And that's just so it makes it easier, I guess, to make it. So another way of looking at it would be 2 times the radius, which is diameter, times pi. But yeah, again, pause it if you're having trouble. But this part right here is key. So, like I've always said, I like fractions because fractions are more precise than decimals. So when you're using pi, you can use either 3.14, or you can use this fraction, which is 22 over 7. Now, when will you use 22 over 7? We're going to do one like that here in just a second. You will use 22 over 7 whenever your diameter is a multiple of 7. And you'll see why in a second. But the reason why is because then that's going to get rid of the fractional part and make it easier and more precise. But the good thing about it is in this section, they're going to tell you which one to use. But I do want you to be thinking, when should I use this? If the diameter is a multiple of 7, you're going to use the fraction. So let's see this in action. Okay, now let's things have gotten bigger, so hopefully we can kind of follow here. So find the circumference of the flying disc. Okay, so step one in all geometry, start with your formula. So they want us to find circumference. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. Now, they've given me, right here, they've given me the radius, so I need to double it. So my diameter is 10. Okay, so hopefully you figured that out by now. If not, go back to it. So is 10 a multiple of 7? No. That's why they tell you here, use 3.14. Down here, they tell you use the fraction. Okay, so we'll get back to that. Okay, so circumference is, I don't know circumference, it's equal to pi, which is 3.14, times 10. I didn't have my calculator out, but that's okay because I know that anytime I multiply by 10, I just move the decimal 1 to the right, so I get 31.4. And that is the distance around this circle over here. Okay, yeah, of course I drew out of lines. Not till the end, though. I did, well, that was pretty terrible, actually. All right, anyway. All right, so circumference equals pi times diameter. And this time they gave me diameter. Notice the red line here is all the way across and it's pointing to it, so my diameter is 28. The circumference therefore is the radius therefore is 14. So if they ask for the radius, then you would be able to just divide this by 2. But either way, 28 and 14 are divisible or multiples of 7. So we're going to use this 22 over 7, and you'll see why. So 22 over 7 instead of 3.14 times 28. And we'll call it 28 over 1. Okay, so look, in the corners I can divide out or factor out a 7, leaving me with just 1 down here, or 22 over 1, which is 22. And this becomes a 4. So now I don't even need my calculator again. Because I chose to use the fraction, it's very easy, just 22 times 4, which gives me 88. Okay, and I should be better about this. This is inches, and this is millimeters. The science teachers would be mad at me for not using units. They are not square units. That's going to be when we get to area. So remember, perimeters and lengths are just the regular unit, whereas areas are square units. Volume is cubic units. Okay, so one more thing they're going to teach us. This one's pretty easy to understand if you think through this. So put on your thinking caps here. Okay, so I'm gonna draw the fake whole circle here. I'm sure it will be brutal. That's actually not the worst I've ever done. Okay, so if I was trying to find the circumference or the perimeter of the whole circle, then I would just use circumference equals pi times diameter, right? And that would be all the way around the circle. But what I want is I want this part, which is halfway around the circle. And then I also want this part, which they tell us. So really, all you do, and the formula in the book is terrible, but really what they do is you take the circumference and divide it by 2, and then add the diameter. Okay, so use this formula, okay? I don't care what your formula sheets say, like it's more confusing. So all I'm doing is saying, okay, I'm going to take half of this circle, the half of this, so the red part, which is only halfway around, and then I have to account for this blue part too, because it's part of the perimeter of this semicircle, right? So if I had to put a fence around this purple area, and I didn't put a fence in the blue area, the dog would get out. Okay, we can't have our dogs getting out, so we have to make sure that we add this diameter here. All right, so very simply, now we just go, okay, C is equal to, well, 6 is our, so we have 3.14 because, 3.1, here, let me, 3.14 times 6 divided by 2. Now, I always, when I can, and this is why I've been teaching you guys this for a while, I factor if I can. So 6 and 2 have a common factor, right? So I can simplify this to a 1 and a 3. So now all I have to do is say, get my calculator out, which I'm doing on the side, 3.14 times 3, which equals 9.42. Do not forget, in fact, I should have just gone ahead and put plus D. Or better yet, we knew what D was, so we could just put plus 6, okay? So 9.42 plus 6, and that equals 15.42 meters. All right, that's it. Rewind if you need to. Went a little bit quickly, but hopefully you get it. Come see me with questions.